Hello.
Well, you super crystal correct. Yeah, crystal clear now.
Can you hear me just fine?
I can hear you perfect. Am I all good?
Yes, you are fine. How do you pronounce your YouTube name?
Aldimo99. It's
Aldimo99?
yeah, my last name's Diamond, so it was kind of the mashup.
Gotcha. Okay, now your name makes sense.
Yeah, because my first name's Alex, last name's Diamond. Born in 1999, so I just kind of smashed it all together and it worked.
What about the 20 on here? On
Oh, that was because for some reason 99 was taken on Discord. I don't know who took it, but somebody did.
So were you 20 at the time?
No, no, it was just easy because my email had 20 on it. So it was just kind of like, okay, well, this will be the next best thing.
Okay.
So,
I actually totally forgot to bring my strategy guides up here to my desk. Um,
oh man, you had one job.
I know, right? I'll be right back.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, you're still good.
Yeah, we're all good.
All right. Well, me and Aldimo
Either one actually works. I've been called Armadillo as
Armadillo.
well, which is just another story.
Well, me me and Aldimo. That doesn't sound right. Is I'm sorry.
No,
Uh,
no, it's not. Literally, that's like the easiest way people have said it. So
okay.
it's just, I'm used to it.
As long as you're fine with it.
Yeah.
Me and Aldimo, we've been talking on and off for what, about a month, a little over a month now.
Yeah, it's been trying to find the schedule, isn't it?
Oh
For
yes,
us to actually be able to do this
we're actually
because of
five.
time differences.
Right, we're 5 hours apart.
Yeah.
Um, but finally glad to have you on. Whenever we talk, we could just talk for hours. So we definitely got a lot of. We both have some topics we definitely want to discuss as long as I possibly can until my wife gets home at least.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be on this. To be
All
honest,
right.
I've been like super excited to do this. First ever podcast. Never done one before, so it's good fun.
Yeah, they're really fun to record and split topics up and post on the channel and just to kind of get it out more. And I don't expect people to watch. I don't expect everyone to watch a full or listen to a full podcast, but at least they can watch those little topics clips from the podcasts.
Yeah, and I've been doing that as you've been putting them up. It's actually been quite interesting because I'd be somebody who would listen to, a whole hour, whatever the time.
Hmm.
So it's been quite fun just getting little snippets.
Oh yes, and this is going to be uploaded on Saturday. So by this time, my Radagon Elden Beast review will be out for the past Thursday. So if anyone hasn't checked that out, definitely look at that. I got to wrap it up tonight. I got to write a little bit more because I have a lot to say about that fight. It's definitely one of my proudest recordings, one of my proudest fights I've had in Elden Ring. It's definitely one I love looking at because everything just fits so well for the strategy that I had in place.
I don't even think I have a boss fight that I'm proud of yet in Elden Ring.
Oh, really?
That I've actually gone like, wow, that was the best fight I could have done. I haven't done that yet.
Well, what do you consider a good fight?
I'm one of these people. I don't mind taking damage, but for me, a good fight is actually utilizing good spacing.
Hmm.
Like especially with the way that we have the Asher Wars now. Like say, what was it, Lion's Heart? If I remember, Lion's Claw. Sorry, where you do like a flip with great swords, and that the positioning on that.
Yeah, I really like that
Anything
one.
recently? Yeah, that positioning has taught me so much recently about like opening
Uh huh.
fights. Like the first move. If you're off by a fraction, you can set yourself up for some serious misery.
Yeah, you could always do
So,
a challenge where you only use the Ash of War attack.
oh, I love it though. It's such a great attack. Like, and I'm not a big Asher War guy,
Yeah.
really. I haven't tried them all. Um, but this one's just so much fun. Like, instant poise damage. It's great. Like, I don't know who
Yeah.
thought of it, but it's a genius move.
Yeah. I thought about using it in the boss fights, but I'm like, you know what? I've gone this far without using an Ash of War. That I might as well just continue on with the restrictions that I've applied, except for jumping. I let jump attacks slide in.
Yeah, I've become quite partial to the jump attack. It's grown on me. It's finally made sense. Um, oh,
Well,
my
well,
cat has decided to kick off.
oh, it's fine. Before we forget, let's go ahead and do you want to go ahead and start off with your favorite boss attacks? Elden
Yeah,
Ring boss attacks.
Elden Ring. Oh wow. Okay.
Oh wait, what did I agree on? Was it Elden Ring or From Software?
Well, you just said overall from
Oh,
software. It was,
so okay, yeah.
five just attacks.
All right, let's go with that one then. Oh wait, what the
Just
attacks or were we going to do attacks or bosses?
it was both, but just give me 1 second.
Okay.
Just gotta quickly get a drink. Okay, I'm back. Didn't want to really drink with the microphone unmuted because nobody likes that. Who likes listening to that? It's not ASMR. So we were originally discussing about top 5 bosses,
Yes.
and then it was about boss attacks that caused issues
Right.
overall. So, um, I guess we should probably start with the boss attacks. Maybe I feel like that would be very interesting
All right, thanks.
because we've
All
been
right.
we've been talking about that for a while. So,
Which strategy guide should I get prepared?
well, I've got 2 attacks from Dark Souls 3 on my list. I have an attack from Dark Souls Remastered, and then I have 2 Elden Ring attacks. And I'm sure you can guess one of them.
Okay. I just don't have a strategy guide for Elden Ring, so I guess we'll just kind of have to speculate on that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, I did a bit of research today on one of the attacks in terms of what people were saying for strategy.
Okay.
Because I was thinking of Dark Souls 2, and I couldn't honestly think of any attacks that I actually struggled with in that game at
Gotcha.
all. So, but for the first attack I put down was Blade Dance by the dancer of the Boreal Valley. Boreal Valley. The one.
Real Valley. That's what I've heard.
Oh, I don't even know how to describe this attack. It's one of the most infuriating attacks that I've ever experienced in a boss fight, and it's simply down to consistency being an issue.
Is that the one where she just constantly swings her weapon for a while?
Yeah, so she does like the spin. She does like the dual spin attack, and then she follows you around the arena with it.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've experienced myself, from a lot of practice, especially for the SL1 run I was doing, the spins, even the wiki states the spins are between 5 and 7. Okay, that's like the amount. Yeah, I have counted on many occasions she does it only 3 times as well.
Okay.
Like it just randomly occurs, so it's like it's consistent of like 5 and 7, and then all of a sudden it's 3 spins, which throws me.
All right, I found it in the strategy guide. It's in stage 2. Okay, so one thing I didn't know, when they refer to phases, they when it comes to phases in a boss, they actually refer to it as stages. I've heard it reversed, like boss attacks enter a phase, and then when they get a new health bar, that's a different stage. So
Yeah,
in the
that's how I
strategy
would have
guide,
done it.
I'm sorry.
That's how I would have classified that.
Okay.
The same, like new health bar, there's a new stage. To me.
Yeah. Apparently in here, whenever the boss fight changes up attacks, it's called a stage change.
Well, that's new to me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have counted that myself.
Yeah, this is the first time I've seen. This is the first time I've ever looked inside this book, probably. So
Didn't they have a weird like term in the Dark Souls strategy guide for the Four Kings as well? Didn't they have like weird terminology on that fight that nobody ever used?
Yeah, energy
One of the
bolts.
attacks.
That
That was
energy
it.
bolt. Never heard of. I've always thought it was the homing soul mass.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I thought.
but in the strategy guide, it's called the energy bolt. I don't know where that comes from, but.
It's just crazy how they use different terms to what the community is using.
Oh yeah, that I love that
Amazing.
though. I love being able to say a term I don't hear in the community, and people are like, what the heck is that?" And I'm like, "Oh well, in the strategy guide,
Yeah, approved by FromSoft. Has to be
approved."
correct.
And so so how do you usually avoid this attack?
Well, I did actually try So I remember reading when I first encountered this attack, people were saying to do the pillar peak strategy. Do you know what that is? You know, where you kite the boss around the columns in the arena.
Uh huh.
That's what I was told to do at first. But the issue with that is the fact that she has a thrust attack from phase one,
Yep.
which is pretty rare, but it can go through the column and hit you. Like the blade can hit you through it.
Hmm.
So it's a weird one. I've had it happen to me. You know, like the worst moment. You think you're safe, you're about to heal, and then bit like the Godskin Apostle with the whole needle through the pillar idea. It's
Right.
that kind of situation. So I pretty much run back to the arena, count the spins, and then I always do a dodge on the final spin that she does, because if you time it just right, the iframe allows you to get just behind her to get in at least two attacks if you're one-handing. That's how I've always dealt with it.
Okay.
Unless she does the three spin, which is pretty rare, and then it completely messes up my strategy because, you know, there's a big gap that I have to kind of cover. So sprinting isn't really viable because obviously stamina is going to deplete. So I end up putting myself in kind of a more risk than reward situation.
Doesn't she have a rare riposte?
Yeah, I think I've only ever stunned her like once, and it was literally at the end of a fight, like at the end.
Wow. I wonder if it
I've
mentions that in here somewhere.
I've never really been able to stun her, but I've never also been able to keep the aggression on them that much because of the spin attack.
Okay.
But even to this day, it still trips me up, and I have hundreds of hours in Dark Souls 3, and it's the one attack I hate so much, so
Well,
much.
let's see what the guide says on how to avoid it. For the spinning combo, dodge back from these combos. They continue for up to 7 attacks worth of damage. You can't take that on the chin, nor can you block your way through it. The only wise method is to dodge until you're temporarily out of range, and then sprint until you're truly safe. Regenerate your stamina, and come back just after a brief whirlwind, and that ends the combination.
I've never tried that. Does it mention the clarity ring for the stamina regen?
I'm sorry?
Does it mention, isn't it the clarity ring that gives you the stamina regeneration? Does
I
it mention
don't
anything about that?
think I don't think in the strategy guides they recommend items unless it's truly needed,
Ah.
like the Taurus ring of the Ring of the Abyss from Dark Souls One.
Oh, the amount of times that tripped me up too on my first playthrough.
Basically, how these strategy guides work, they give you a basic strategy that you work around your build. You can either follow them or not, but they don't recommend
Right.
weapons or equipment.
Do you know, that's a good thing though, because I don't think there's a right or wrong way to play a FromSoft game,
Hmm.
as long as you're enjoying it.
That's
You know.
why. Oh, sorry.
No, that's all I was gonna say. It's just as long as you're enjoying it, I think it's the best way to do it.
I cannot wait to see what the strategy guide says about the Elden Stars attack, which we're going to get to later on about a poll result I have on Reddit. I have promised it on the last podcast, but we ran out of time. Um, but I wonder what they're going to say because it's such a opaque design when it comes to invading, and I don't even know how they're going to word it. I mean, even in the Four Kings section of the strategy guide is very vague. They don't really tell you. It's kind of based the way they made it sound. You know, it's basically like, oh, good luck, I guess.
Yeah, if you can't beat this boss, then you might as well quit.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't even mention it's 5 kings technically. If you get into the development of the fight.
Right, exactly. I guess I wonder if they just kind of averaged that out. Like, oh well, most of the time it's going to be Four Kings.
Yeah, and have you ever seen the speedrun strategy
No.
that gets used on the 4 kings? Okay, so that's an interesting one. So, because under the boss arena, there's an actual like one of the 4 kings that is the main health bar,
Hmm.
like that it's linked to. So if you kill one of the 4 kings and say you're using sorceries, because that's the strategy, Dark Bead or Dark Hail, depending on if you're coming from Dark Souls 2, because you know that's a weird name change. If you time it just correct, when you defeat one of the kings, it has the like white smoke, doesn't it, that appears,
Uh-huh.
like the flicker. Well, if you hit that with Dark Bead, you can actually inflict extra damage for a brief period of time to the king under the arena
Really?
before a new king spawned in. So if you do it just correct, and you have like power within stacked, you can literally do two kings and have the whole fight finished. If you can get the
Wow.
perfect timing at the end to hit that like white orb for like 5 seconds, you can destroy the whole fight within a minute, something crazy like that.
Yeah, I did not know that.
It's tricky. It's tricky to do because it's very much time based, and positioning again is obviously a key thing.
Ho- um,
Um,
Godfrey kind of works the same way, where Horaloo acts as the main health bar.
yeah, because isn't there his character model under the ground or
It
something?
is.
I was going to say, isn't it the same idea? Because I know the Elden Beast is under him as well. If you go further down
Yeah.
the textures,
That's crazy. That's just so. I've seen all those videos and like, oh, the boss is secretly right here, and then there's another boss right here. I'm like, that is just so wild. You know, you're walking around, if especially when you place yourself into the game and you're just walking around, and then you're just imagining Horaloo just right underneath all this structure. I'm like, man, it's oddly kind of eerie, knowing that.
isn't it? It's weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a bit creepy because he's in the grab animation. You know, when he does his charge,
Hmm.
he's in that animation.
There's so
So
much. There's if anyone could boundary break a game, I would love to see someone do Castlevania Lament of Innocence, because you get to see the secret boss underneath vents before you get to fight him, and you can actually see a sample. You know, you can see that before you have to grab the key to access the boss fight. So that's really the only glimpse you get until you can access that key. So you only see like his head and his horns. And I've even asked someone, I was like, hey, is there any way you can kind of break through that vent just to see how much is rendered underneath there? I mean, it can't be much, but I just want to see how much you can see and how detailed it is. It's most likely not the same model that you fight, but it's just one of the most curious things I've ever, um, pondered about ever since I played the game.
it's funny, isn't it? How as gamers we like to see all the unrendered stuff
Oh yeah,
that goes on behind the scenes.
exactly. Yeah, that's the only
Um,
one I can think of at the moment. I don't want to spend too much time trying to think about other ones. So what was the other boss in Dark Souls 3?
oh, Aldridge, the Devourer of Gods.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah. But I like this boss. It's actually a personal favorite in Dark Souls 3 for me.
mm-hmm.
But it's the Arrow Barrage, more specifically the Phase 2.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I know you can outrun it. I know that's like the whole strategy. But it always just catches me off guard. I always feel like my stamina just runs out just as I'm about to escape and I get clipped.
Hmm.
It's like, because it reminds me of the move, Morgott uses in the second encounter where he brings the daggers down from the sky.
Yes.
That's what it always reminds me of, but I think it was done better with Morgott.
Going back to the dancer real quick, what's the best version of that attack you've seen? If there is there an alternate version of that attack you think is handled better somewhere in the From Software games?
That's a good question, and I've never really. I don't think I've ever noticed an attack that's similar to that Blade Dance that I can think of.
Yeah, I can't think of one either, really.
No, I like because I know there's certain bosses, especially in Elden Ring, that you can tell where they've taken obviously the concept from. But
Hmm.
I don't think I might be wrong. Obviously, somebody might know, but I don't think there's a boss that I've seen or I've ever paid attention to that does an attack relatively close to it.
All
I
right.
guess it would be maybe the Crystallians. The one with the is it the wheel or the shield? That they throw. I guess because it does the spin attack. I guess that's kind of the closest I've
Right.
ever seen.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. But that one, the tracking on that one is so off the player that it doesn't
Oh
really.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can walk past it and it'll just miss, and you could be right next to it.
All right. All right. So how do you? I don't know if you. How do you usually avoid this attack? The arrow barrage.
You all you really have to do is outrun it,
Hmm.
like by sprinting. But I've always found like it does work, but I've always just found that my stamina just runs out as I'm about to get out the final hitbox, and I just get clipped. And because obviously it's a homing attack, it becomes quite an issue. But I've also seen other players say, well, if you hide behind a pillar, you'll be fine. But the arrows just kind of separate around it. So I don't know if that's like a pretty, I guess, pretty patch, like first patch maybe, when Dark Souls 3 came out.
Hmm. So let's see. I'm trying to make sure I have the right arrow attack. In the guide, it says you will see Aldrich rely on his best attack much more often. After slowly pulling out a magical bow, Aldrich summons a wave of arrows that rains down all over the field. They'll retarget often, trying to get you. You have to stay mobile during the rain of arrows, or else you'll take cruel, unfair, and lethal damage.
Oh, it
Uh,
is. It's lethal damage.
oh, they have a
100%.
typo in here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's common actually in the strategy guides. They spell far with two A's.
Wow, how's that? I would have expected two R's, but not two A's.
So it's run as far away from the boss as you can before he even has the bow out. What before he even has the bow out? I mean, how? I mean, you got to be able to read the telegraph.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't even think there's an animation that you would really, associate with that move because he spawns in and then just pulls it out.
Yeah,
It,
so I
it,
don't know.
it's a weird one.
I can't necessarily agree with that strategy guy. Why are you saying that?
Yeah, I mean, because in my opinion, well, in my experience, sorry, it's always been that he spawns in and then like from under the ground, and then he just has the bow out because I don't think there is an animation, or if there is, it's a very small detail that I've completely missed all these years.
But how they wrap it up, they say if you try to trade damage with him inside the arrow rain, he'll win and you won't feel good about it.
Complete lies, because I beat him. I actually have a video of that on my channel where he does the arrow barrage, and I mistimed the roll to get out, and I committed to killing him, and I got the last hit in before the arrows killed me. So strategy guy's lying a little bit. You can
Yeah, I mean,
still win. You
it
just
can't
gotta
be
believe.
perfect. So they actually do say for this fight use maximum magic resistance, extra HP, and extra damage. You can
Just
also.
use fire.
I'm sorry.
Just use fire damage. That's what I would say.
Yeah. You can also consider lowering your equipment load by taking shields, ranged weapons. It's basically just telling you, you can still, do whatever. All right. So this attack, do you know what this attack is very similar to?
Oh yeah, actually, yes. I have a good reference on this one. General Radon.
Yep,
You
that's
know
it.
the arrow attack. That's the one.
Uh huh.
Where he sends them down in a big line. That's the attack,
Now
and it's
here's
done better.
now
You can
here's
dodge.
so you do consider Radon's version better.
Yeah, I think it fits a little bit more with his fight because of the size of the arena. You actually feel like you can escape it
Mm-hmm.
compared to Aldridge, which I get it's a different game, and I get Dark Souls 3 is obviously a little bit linear. Well, actually, not a little bit. It's obviously more linear. So I get they were using the formula that they've been using for years, but I just feel like the arena that Aldridge is in is way too small
So
for that attack.
what about on foot though? I mean, yeah, we have torrent, but what about evading it on foot like you would with Aldred's attack?
I've never had that issue. Actually, when I'm on foot against Radahn, he tends to do gravity attacks.
Okay.
Kind of, yeah. I've not really experienced the arrow attack like that, unfortunately.
I would
His
have
homing arrow, I have.
I would have to further analyze it because I don't really have a straight answer which one is handled better on foot.
Yeah, I think in terms of if you would count sprinting and torrent, for the mobility, I guess it would be definitely Radahn's fight.
Hmm.
But on foot, yeah, I haven't got enough experience with that to really give an answer either.
Now Radon does have an arrow spray similar, a little well. Aldrich is arrow spray is a little bit more uniform than Radon's. His is I think his is more vertical, and Aldrich's is horizontal.
Yeah, I think Radon's one tends to curve with the player a bit
Yeah.
on the tracking, as with Aldridge, it's pretty much a straight line.
Okay. That's another tech I just thought of. I can't wait to see in the strategy guide is how to avoid his gravity blast, which you can use torrent. I'm pretty sure the Elden Ring. I'm pretty sure the strategy guide is just going to say get on torrent and run away from the gravity pull.
I think that whole fight is based on Torrent. I think that's
Yeah.
what they were trying because the arena is so big. I think it's
Yeah.
well done for what it is, but
Hmm.
I think Torrent was definitely the emphasis in that fight.
I've seen someone do a no roll without torrent, but it's extremely tedious with a lot of RNG. And when I saw that, I was like, you know what? That's too much RNG for my interest.
Yeah, you've got to call it quits sometimes, isn't it? You got to
Yeah, I'm
know
like,
when you
I don't
beat.
care. I'm going to use torrent. I'm going to roll. I probably could have done it without rolling, but still, I'm going to use torrent because that gravity pull attack can go somewhere else.
It's so annoying, isn't it, when you think you're just out the range and you get pulled back in just a little bit?
Yeah, and you take damage from it. It wouldn't be as bad
Yeah,
if you didn't take damage from it, but you do.
yeah, that's caught me out so many times.
Was that all in Dark Souls 3?
Yeah, actually, I think every other attack in Dark Souls 3 I'm pretty happy with.
Okay,
I
is there
mean,
anything else you can think of that while we're in the strategy guide?
do you know, actually, because I don't think a lot of people know this about like Dark Souls 3 is about when you first encounter a boss, you get the first move advantage. I don't think a lot of people know about that
Mm-hmm.
still because I see, especially a lot of new players or maybe, I want to say intermediate players probably best to classify, kind of the people who've got good understanding of the game, but not exactly to the point where, they're doing no hit runs, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people don't realize that first move advantage is great for studying all the attacks, like
Mm-hmm.
because they don't randomly appear, at different points. You can actually go, okay, this is 3 minutes of, I don't know, lunge attacks, and then you can really practice that, and then it'll change when you get to a certain health threshold compared to how I feel like in Dark Souls 2, you just kind of got unfair luck at the beginning. So I feel like it was a big improvement. I don't know if the strategy guide mentions, though, for Dark Souls 3 about that first move advantage, but I just see a lot of people not really know about it.
I don't see a whole lot of people that talk about unique boss introduction attacks. Like with Malekith. Malekith always does this jump and slam, and if you position yourself correctly, you can get a free charge attack on him.
Yes, I've noticed that he
And
does that all the time.
Loretta does the same thing. Uh, and then you got Godfrey, who actually does it in the middle of his fight.
Yeah, it's different, isn't it? It kind of puts you off a little bit
Mm-hmm.
when you're not expecting it.
Right. Yeah, his second phase is actually a lot more generous than his first phase.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And I think the fast pacedness is also a lot nicer for the most part.
All right. Let's jump to Dark Souls Remastered.
Oh, my favorite game. My favorite one in the franchise.
All right, which boss you got?
Gravelord Nito.
Uh-oh, let's see what we've got.
I love Gravelord. I think of all the bosses in Dark Souls, he's just so cool. I just like the whole color aesthetic, the arena, everything. But the move I find annoying, and I think a lot of people find, this annoying in general, is the Gravelord's Gravelord dance. So he does the scream
Uh-huh.
with the toxic blade.
Right.
That for the longest time, I think up until maybe last year, caused me the most problems because it was coming down to timing on the roll.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially at the
Um,
beginning of the fight where you had to drop down and take damage.
oh yeah, because you're trying to heal, and there's a possibility you're gonna get killed straight away.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not him, it's the skeletons. Oh,
All right. So they got that at the very beginning. About
that's
the.
great.
So I'll just go ahead and start from the beginning of the paragraph. They actually recommend the fall control, but only because they're recommending that because they're just trying to help you not take any damage at all.
I
So
don't think I've ever used that.
Fall control. Okay, so the drop you are required to take to begin this fight will cost you around 60% of your health, unless you can cast the fall control spell beforehand to prevent non-fatal fall damage. For this reason, make absolutely sure. Wait, they spelled sure like share, Share.
Oh wow.
Someone didn't proofread these strategy guides very well.
The QC was not there.
Make absolutely sure that you are at full or at least high health before taking the plunge. Rather than immediately heal after sustaining the damage from the fall, be prepared to avoid Nito's Gravelord Great Dance attack that he'll sometimes use after you land. This move will cause a giant Gravelord sword to jut out of the ground beneath you. Your positioning and the darkness occluding the area, occluding? Okay, will prevent you from seeing the visual cue of this attack. Your only indication will be the scream Nito lets out as he performs it. So use this to time your roll. After this, make sure to heal straight away if you need to, because a group of skeleton swordsmen will rush in to attack you. So what do you think about that?
Yeah. I think it's pretty accurate in terms of explaining the attack. I think it should mention about the Ring of Fog actually helping out in terms of when you come into the arena, because if you have the Ring of Fog on, there's a less likely chance for him to actually do that attack straight away.
Yeah, I don't think they recommend that in the guide, actually, surprisingly. I guess they just didn't know about the strategy at the time. But
Yeah,
well,
that
actually
might be it.
no. This is the remastered game. They should have that knowledge.
Yeah, because it's a very big community thing that if you put Ring of Fog on and you drop down one, the skeletons aren't going to see you, which is great because you don't want to really be dealing with that.
They continued the strategy for the Gravelord Great Sword Dance attack, actually.
Oh, okay.
Later on, they say Nito can still use his Gravelord Great Sword dance attack, which should be dodged as soon as he stabs towards the floor.
Wow, okay, I've never thought about it that way. I've always counted.
Yeah, that's I've always looked out for his stab into the ground myself because I can't rely on the scream for timing.
Yeah, I don't really get to see the stab because I tend to play a sorcerer, so I've done the pew pew and
Ah, okay.
next. But
Um,
the attack still trips me up.
you cannot officially do a no roll with this boss. You have to use a different method instead of running away from the attack. You cannot
Wow,
outrun this
okay.
attack.
That's interesting.
This is where I first saw this method, and I saw it again in Elden Ring with heck, what's that really alien-looking boss? The one that looks like Mr. DNA from Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah.
Is it Estelle?
There's Estelle, and then there is. Oh, is it the one that you're thinking of where you meet on Rani's quest line
Right,
before
yeah,
you
that
get?
little
Yeah,
beady gumball-looking boss.
yeah. It reminds me of those water ball things that you get them into tiny, you put them in a glass, and when you put water in, they expand. It's like a toy. That's what it reminds me of. I can't remember the name, but yeah, it's Estelle, and then there's two others, and I can't remember what their names are.
But in order for people that want to do a no roll challenge to avoid this attack, they actually got to use jump attacks.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so I'm like, whenever I first saw that, I'm like, you know what? I'm not fully interested in no roll attacks after seeing that because I don't know if you can't outrun an attack. I'm like, what's really the point if you gotta press another button?
Yeah, and that's something I don't even do a lot is use the jump to dodge.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't.
Well, see, in order to do a jump attack, I mean, you gotta press up and R2 at the same time.
Oh, you see, mine's set up different.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have my analog stick as the jump, so if I press in, that's how I have it set up.
Okay.
Because I found Elden Ring's controls so difficult to get used to.
Really?
Well, I did my first playthrough using mouse and keyboard. So when I started using the controller, which was down to an actual glitch in the game when it came to playing as a sorcerer. So
Mm-hmm.
what was happening was, say if you had something like the Moon Veil, and then you had the staff in your right hand,
Uh-huh.
oh sorry, in your left character hand. Well, what would happen is when you did the Ash of War on the Moon Veil, depending on what sorcery was in the selection box, the staff would fire straight away afterwards. So the amount of ripostes I missed because of it was kind of infuriating. And then it worked fine with the controller. And I believe in the last update, they actually just fixed that PC bug for the whole sorcery thing.
Okay.
So when I started using the controller, I could not use it's triangle, isn't it, for the PlayStation for the pickup. I couldn't use that. I had to switch that to X, and then I had to make jump the analog stick like Dark Souls. I just really had to sit down and tinker around with the input.
You know what's really funny about this strategy guide? They actually got a parry section. I'm like, this is Dark Souls.
Backstab.
You, there are no. The only boss you can parry is Gwen. All of these sections that have parry for these, for the other bosses, just say no, no, no for all the attacks they have listed. Wait a minute. Oh wait, no, no, sorry, I was looking at something else.
I always
Yeah.
thought it was just Gwen.
So that's so funny how they got no on all the parry sections of these bosses. Let me. I'm gonna go skip the Gwen, see how many yeses there are. But that's so funny. No, 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 no. Why even
It's like until
bother?
you meet the final boss, though, you just go badong and you win.
Right, but I'm just saying it's just
It's
Gwen is
crazy.
the only one. Yeah, I was about to say Gary. Yeah, Gary.
Gary. Imagine that as a final boss name. Gary.
Okay, here we go. We got Gwen. After all the bosses that say no for every attack for parry, we got Gwen, and every one of his attacks can be parried except for his kick and his choke explosion finisher grab.
Yes. That's actually the only two, isn't it?
Yep. That's hilarious. I can't believe I've never noticed that before. I don't even, like I said, I don't know why they bothered. Because no other boss can be parried in the game.
Yeah, it wasn't really up until Dark Souls 3 that like boss parrying became a big thing.
Oh yeah, yep.
Like Gundyr. you just you got to do it. You got to hit him with the buckler.
Yeah, I am.
Great feeling.
He is just so simple with the parry that I refuse to parry him because he's such an awesome boss that I'm like I don't want to disrespect him by parrying him.
It wasn't until I did SL1 that I decided to parry him
Yeah, I
because
would.
I never did that up until that point.
I don't blame you. I would probably do the same thing.
Well, I did it. The only reason I actually had to do that was because I wanted to get the Hornet Ring to use that against Pontiff to make it literally a two parry fight, and that was it. So,
I wonder if they bashed the
um,
bed of chaos in here.
oh, I hope so.
Overview: the encounter with
I
the
mean,
bed. Huh?
let's talk about inconsistency.
The encounter with the Bed of Chaos is unlike a traditional boss fight. You will be required to disable a protective barrier and ultimately kill its exposed inner core. This is accomplished by destroying the large, twisted, glowing roots located to either side of it. The fallen on then fallen onto the root path that leads into the center. As for the fight progresses, the floor will begin to give away, leave large pitfalls for you to fall through or be pushed into by the boss. Once you have destroyed a large glowing root, it will not reappear even if you die and re-enter the battle. I wonder if they're allowed to bash the boss design, if it's truly, especially if Miyazaki didn't like the design himself. I don't really see
But you
them
know,
saying anything.
I could not see him approving that fight with a straight face, just because of how bad it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what the strategy guide fails to mention is that you're going to need a shrink once you're done with the fight. Because getting to the fight is the easiest bit, and then when you get rid of the branches, you've got to jump to the middle, obviously to get to the chaos bug. But as you're mid jump, you can get knocked by the branch completely off the platform mid air. So
Yeah, they don't mention anything about the design being flawed. That's I guess they just really didn't want to bash the game in that way, which I guess is understandable. But I was kind of hoping to see some kind of like wink saying, "Hey, we realize this is kind of wonky, but good luck to you."
yeah, I think like everybody adopted that speedrun strategy I've done it with the fire bombs, and it's the easiest way to do the fight. But I just feel like the better chaos is definitely the stain on Dark Souls. I
Yeah,
think that was the worst fight. I think it was very. I think it was just filler, or they had a bigger idea that they couldn't develop any further.
I don't see what's stopping them from just going back and just finishing the rest of Dark Souls. They said that they were rushed to do everything else. I'm like, well, I don't think they would lose money if they just finished Dark Souls 1 and released it.
Oh, everybody'd be amazed by it because it's more content.
Oh
It's more
yes.
to do again. Like,
I understand the man wanting to go to new projects, and I respect him for it. But I'm like, man, kind of. If it was me, I would be like, man, I want to go back and finish what I was rushed to, the release.
especially considering how after 10 years, it's the biggest game on the market still.
It's going.
When you think about it, it's
It's
crazy.
it's got to get an upgrade one day. I don't think they would.
It has
I
to.
don't think they can leave it alone in the state that it's in. It's got to get something one
Yeah,
day.
because there's still some issues they're definitely fixing.
Mm-hmm. That's. I mean,
So,
sometimes I like to think that they're working on it secretly and not telling us about it. And so that when they come out
yeah,
saying Dark Souls the complete definitive edition.
I'd be like, take my money.
I know, and they better include the DLC, magic and weapons with the trophy. I was so disappointed when I mentioned this on another podcast, by the way, where they did not include the weapons and magic in the DLCs for the trophy. It was just the exact same challenge that you had to go through.
You know what? That's such a good point because I feel the exact same way about that. It just never made any sense when the remaster came out why they didn't change that achievement.
Mm-hmm. But they did it for Scholar for Sin. They added the DLCs, and that was great. I loved it.
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
had no problem getting the platinum again for that because I'm like, well, it was a new experience.
I still haven't got platinum on Dark Souls 2. I must because that game's slowly becoming one of my favorites in the franchise.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I started doing challenge runs and kind of just playing the game a little bit more, a bit more, I guess, frequently,
Mm-hmm.
it turned out from being maybe like once a year to maybe 2, 3 times a year, which is good. And the more and more I kept playing it, the more and more I would finish a playthrough and go, "Wow, okay, that was really, really fun. Let's go New Game Plus, whatever the reset was." And I just kept enjoying it, and it's become a favorite now.
Okay. I tend to whatever From Software game I'm playing tends to be my favorite at the time. I
Yeah,
just
no, that makes sense.
it's like I'll be playing anything like Demon Souls, and someone will ask me at the moment like, "Hey, what's your favorite From Software game?" I'm like, "Demon Souls," because I'm playing it right now.
Yeah, it's nothing better, is there, than when you're really enjoying it to like when you're really excited to play it
Yeah, exactly. I'm
because
I'm
it's
I've been excited to play Demon Souls lately, especially now it's for available on PS5 and it looks amazing and plays a lot smoother. I'm just so excited just to play through it all over again. Do it. I mean, I can do the exact same thing and never get bored with it. Just same with the other
oh yeah,
ones.
same. Yeah, I could run the same build all the time and never get bored because
It's
you just don't know
incredible.
what's going to happen.
It's incredible what this company has brought to gaming. I mean, I can't even think about any other game I could be like, I'm going to jump on, just play real quick, and feel like I'm going to get a different experience. It's not like I can jump on Crash Bandicoot and be like, okay, I'm going to do it differently, but I'm just going to jump on the box differently this way, and it just doesn't work the same way as the From Software games.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think the only other game I've ever found is Borderlands.
Hmm.
That Borderlands 2 for me was my Dark Souls for the
Really?
longest time. Yeah, I did all the achievements. I had something like 72 different character saves because I would do different builds, different, weapons be picked up, different ideas. Um, and that was just on PC. That wasn't even including the console because I started on the console on Borderlands, but I think that's the only game that has ever kind of given me the same feeling Dark Souls has ever done with terms of replayability.
So, can we, whenever you do get your hands on Demon Souls, will we expect a live stream of you playing it?
Oh, 100%. I think 100% like that will happen because it's the only one I've not tried, and I feel like it's the final piece of the puzzle that will
Hmm.
make every other FromSoft game better. because I've played Demon Souls.
There you
I've
go.
played the beginning of it all realistically.
The draft.
Um, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I could play it on the PS3 and I would still be happy. I don't need to have the fancy HD and all that. If it's a good game, it's a good game.
Oh yeah, I mean, I
So,
would probably play on a regular standard definition TV and still be happy with these games.
oh yeah, they're just well built.
Yeah, I mean,
You
I've
know,
moved from a 55-inch flat screen to my little 32-inch flat screen old Vizio TV, and I've been playing. I'm gonna play Ragnarok on it. I mean, it doesn't really. I don't need to have like the cleanest, crispest, visuals in the world. I just want to play a game and enjoy it.
yeah, and that's I think a lot of play. Well, I guess gamers, not all of them, but I would say a lot of them nowadays. They want to focus more on the graphics, don't they, than the replayability of a game.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that's the case more nowadays
Yeah.
because I'm on PC. Obviously, it's a little bit different to console because obviously we can pick the graphic settings, can't we? So,
Is
but
oh
I would rather pick the lowest graphic settings for the best playability. Like I don't mind having it where it's low res if the game is running at the best it can run and it's enjoyable.
yeah, it's.
So
I've recommended Frogun to a few people, and some of them say, "Ah, this game looks like trash. This is a PS1 game. Why are you recommending
the
this?"
look of it.
I'm like, "Hey, it's a classic. The level design is the best. It's probably has the best level design I've seen. In gaming for a while. I mean, Elden Ring does have really good level design also, but Frogun, every level has its own character, and just it feels like whenever I jump in, I just. I mean, I could probably like with the From Software games. I could do the same thing and just never get bored with the platforming. It is just that amazing. And he actually, the developer, he he created his own level creation software to make this game, which is why
Oh
the
wow!
level design is so spectacular. Because he's basically using something like Little Big Planet to make his
I never
levels
played that.
on a grid. You never played Little Big Planet?
And I never understood it because when people were playing that, I was playing like God of War or like Call of Duty or Borderlands or God everything else basically.
Oh man, they have to upgrade Little Big Planet 1 and 2 and put it on PS5. That needs to happen. They need to bring back the online community where so I can create levels again. That's been one of the best gaming experiences I've ever had, just creating levels for Little Big Planet. Oh man, I would be so happy.
Amazing, isn't it? Different generation of gamers. We want all the old games back. We don't
Yeah.
want new ones. We want the
Well, it's
old
just
ones.
the new ones that they're releasing are the same thing. They're like
Yeah.
Gotham Knights. It's just the crappy online multiplayer version of Arkham Asylum or whatever the Arkham series, and and it's not even doing that well. Some people enjoy it, which is great. If people enjoy it, that's fine. But still, it's just the same stuff. They're like releasing crappier versions of older stuff, and then just packing it full of microtransactions.
It's the way it is now, though, isn't
Yep.
it?
Yep.
Unfortunately.
It's like, but then again, like I said, if you enjoy games like that, then that's great. I'm glad you can find value in it, but I feel like there's just more value in gaming that we're not exploring.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That's why I like FromSoft games a lot too, because it
Yes.
isn't this whole you've got to pay for this barrier to be moved. Imagine having to pay to remove a fog wall.
Hmm.
Imagine if that was a thing. Like,
Oh man, yeah. Well, someone actually made a parody about that, where whenever they interacted with something, it would have like paywalls. Like if you want to use this talisman slot, you got to pay $5.
oh, so EA got in on that then.
Yeah, EA. Jeez.
I saw a meme on EA yesterday, and it was a plate of food, and the caption was if EA owned a restaurant, and it was a piece of bread, and then it was like a piece of chicken was like $100, and then the vegetables were like priced up at $5 each, and it was like the little lock screen, where they black it out. It was so well done.
Wow. Um. But yeah, was there anything else in the strategy guide you want to look over? Dark Souls Remastered.
Um, You know, I'm trying to think. Is there any particular boss that has like a weird move set? I mean, what does it say about Ceaseless? I'm curious what strategy they give. Did they give the cheese strategy, or
Yes,
did they give it with?
I just looked at it and it does recommend the cheese strategy. I don't think they recommended any other way, which kind of tells me, you're supposed to do the cheese. But here's the thing, I don't know if I was talking to you about it. On Soul Level 1, you can just basically walk up to him. Do not grab his sister's attire. He will never be aggro on you if you don't grab it. And
Yeah.
if you throw a dagger at him, he'll start attacking you. If you stay close to the wall next to his sister's attire, he'll basically just kind of spam the same attack, and you can just walk up and hit him and just do the attack that way. I find that way a lot more satisfying than trying to get him to walk off the cliff.
You know, I've never really thought about doing the fight that way. I've always just gone with the cheese strategy, but I feel like that would be more fun than the way you just mentioned.
Yeah, I saw someone do. I didn't invent it. I saw someone do it on YouTube, and I was like, you know what? I like that method so much better. Let's see. Just kind of glancing through here. Blah blah blah. The ceaseless discharge will be initially docile, but will become aggressive if you strike him with a ranged attack or pillage the gold hemmed back black armor set from the quartz upon the altar deeper into the area. The armor you can acquire here. Blah blah blah. So you may want to equip. But only creating a. I'm not seeing anything relating to any other strategy other than just avoiding him while getting to the edge. Okay, well, it does say how to avoid his slam attacks. You can dash perpendicular in each to each of them, and as they come down, depending on your positioning, you may need to dodge with a roll before the attack lands, which can cause you to accidentally jump, which
I've
which
gotten worse.
which does not grant you momentary invulnerability. Yeah, yeah. Sorry if some of this wording sounds weird. It's not me. It's just the strategy guide. if you
Amazing,
raise
isn't it?
you, if you raise your guard while dashing, you can prevent this from happening. But be mindful of your stamina regeneration while holding your shield up. Oh, they recommend a shield. The boss will leave his arm or appendages used for these attacks flat across the ground for a moment, which will be your opportunity to dash in and attack. As long as you stay close, you can repeat the strategy until the boss is defeated. Okay, so they do recommend something else other than the cheese.
Oh wow, okay, that's different.
So that's good. I'm glad they do that. Okay, this is where they enter the I guess the intended way. I guess I don't know. They say for an easier victory, there's a method that involves leading the ceaseless discharge back along the cliffside towards the fog gate. So that's something that they recommend after, uh, fighting him. I guess more personally. I guess I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I guess it's always good to kind of do it that way too. You know, to get at least the experience of what the fight was supposed to be about.
See, this boss actually looks more like that secret boss from Castlevania Lament of Innocence I mentioned earlier, the one that's inside the vent. He actually looks very similar to him. And probably just as tall, too.
Yeah, it's amazing how actually big Ceaseless is, and especially if you kill him. I don't. Obviously, you probably know this as well, but if you kill him off the cliff, he doesn't actually fall into the lava. He just disappears. You ever seen that?
I think I saw that, actually, yeah.
It's so like unsatisfying because you think, oh, he's gonna drop all the way down, and he like disappears as soon as he lets go.
I
It's so annoying.
I mentioned in my Fire Giant review that I feel like the Fire Giant was actually executed a better version of the Ceaseless Discharge fight. I don't. It might be a stretch because how much is designed around the positioning and the cliff. I'm probably really wrong about that, but it's something I really like to think about. It's just I guess I need to look at the Fire Giant as just like, what if you could fight the Ceaseless Discharge head on without the cliff?
Yeah, I feel like it does give me Ceaseless vibes as well.
Mm-hmm. I
And I
mean,
do think it'd be cool to see Ceaseless Discharge as a fight like that.
yeah, and we got it.
Instead, it would be a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
So, no,
Um,
I do agree with that point. I think definitely Ceaseless.
oh, the Centipede
Homage.
Demon. I wonder what they say about the beginning, because the beginning can be very spammy on the boss's side, because he'll use that thrust attack so many times.
Yeah, I forget about that boss because I always take the shortcut now. I just skip right past them.
Short. Oh yeah, the one
Where you,
before the demon fire sage.
yeah, where you have to have the 30 humanity.
Yeah, some the no damage runs for Dark Souls, someone has to take the shortcut because you have to walk through lava, which where you take damage, so they have to take that shortcut.
Yeah, thank God that shortcut's actually in the game,
I
or
know that would have
definitely some
convenient,
rule changes.
huh? Let's see. You'll enter the fight with the centipede demon positioned across the arena from you. Before making your first move, observe your footing to avoid accidentally walking into the lava. If you lack the orange charge ring, there are two recommended locations to fight from. The first is the large land mass directly under the centipede demon's starting position. You can reach this area by heading right along the perimeter of the room and rolling across the lava gaps. Watch your health and keep moving so the centipede demon doesn't catch you. Okay, so they're recommending something where you have to take damage in order to get done. I'm imagining if I wanted to do a no damage run, I would have to shoot him with a bow and arrow, just to get him run. Just to get his fight rolling. I don't know how people
Yeah.
do it. I need to look up videos on how people do no damage for bosses only, just to see how they handle it. I'm pretty sure someone would have to whip out something because you cannot. I don't know if you just need a longer weapon, but from the experimentation I've done, whenever he's pulling his arm back, you can't seem to get any damage off of him.
Yeah, doesn't he get an iframe from it?
Yeah, he gets an iframe from it. I don't know where the detection range is at precisely. I don't know if there is one while he's pulling his arm back. I guess that's something I would need to experiment more with because I don't. I'm sure if it was there, someone should have discovered it by now.
Yeah, but it is also a FromSoft game, and there's always loads of stuff still being found on the
Oh
old
yeah,
ones.
definitely.
So, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if it
Um,
hadn't been found just yet.
are you subscribed to Illusionary Wall? Illusionary Wall. I think that's.
Yes.
He
Yeah,
just
I am.
released a video about the vagrants in Dark Souls about what happened, why were they designed specifically, and he thinks that they were designed to split up the accessibility of the crystal lizard concept. Because in Demon Souls, apparently some crystal lizards they'll go away forever if you don't catch them in time. And
Oh,
so
wow.
they did that with
Okay.
the vagrants. They kept the crystal lizards, but they keep respawning in Dark Souls. If you can quit and restart, and the crystal lizard will pop right back. But the vagrants are the rare, once one chance sort of thing. You see one. I've actually never seen one actually a vagrant. I've played Dark Souls so many times, and I have never seen one. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I guess I think you're supposed to drop something, but I never really played around with that much.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen one either, in
I
all the
mean,
years I've done it.
it's crazy how rare they actually are. And the guy in the video, he actually does a lot of comparisons, like with Dark Souls 3, the egg that lady is holding before Slave Knight Gale. He was doing comparisons with that. Apparently, inside that egg are pieces of crystal lizards. It kind of goes off into a lot of lore
Oh,
stuff.
wow. See, I love those kind of videos, like Zuli the Witch. I don't know
Hmm.
if you ever
Oh yeah, I'm
watched
subscribed to
that one.
that channel.
Oh, I absolutely love all that kind of stuff. It's just so interesting how the community pieces things together.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's just mind-boggling.
See, I'm not the biggest fan of lore, but the way Zully the Witch, the way they make their videos is very fascinating. Actually makes me slightly interested in the lore because it actually has something to do with the game design itself. That
Yes.
pulls in my interest.
That's like that for me too. I don't mind the lore in these games. I think it's cool, but I know a lot of people like to really deep dive, which
Hmm.
is great if that's what you're into, because I fully understand it. There's definitely a lot of enjoyment, but I think definitely Zully the Witch. I think it's because it's bite-sized and it's such a nice little flow to it, especially with like reading the text. It's just very easy to understand, so you don't feel like you're getting confused within the lore. Because
Hmm.
I think FromSoft, obviously, they give you a lot of, I guess, straws to pull. Because obviously, that's the whole point of the story, isn't it? That we all kind of come to our own conclusions.
Yeah.
Um, but I definitely think Zuli the Witch does a fantastic job of bite-sized information that makes sense. and it's like, oh wow, okay, that fills in all the questions I have
And
on that topic.
I like to think as I like to think of the gameplay in the same way. How you handle everything is up to your interpretation. Um,
Exactly, yeah.
Now, I've had an interesting conversation with people lately about, are no damage runs intentional? Well, it's like saying, is this piece of lore is intentional? Now, obviously, in Dark Souls 2, you can, if you do defeat Sir alone without taking damage, he does that seppuku animation where he stabs himself. But we haven't seen that anywhere else in the series. So, you know,
Point.
yeah, so that's where I'm kind of conflicted on. If it wasn't for that, then I would say, you know what, it's really just up to you if you want to consider no damage intentional or not. But there are a lot of attacks that really has me that really have that really sorry that has me scratching my head a lot, like the Elden Stars attack
Oh yeah,
and the way it's
that's a head
designed.
scratcher.
I'm like, man, it's just like I said, I really don't want to say anything else until I see the strategy guide and see what they say about it. I mean, are
It's
they
gonna be a
really?
blank page.
Yeah, it's gonna be a one whole page describing the attack, but it's just so opaque. The invasion method. I just do not see them putting something like that in the strategy guide. I mean, it's just so incredibly vague on how to evade it. Um,
I think they'll probably just do what the wiki says about the oh, what was the crystal tier called? I have it written down here somewhere. The Crimson Hall bubble tier. I think that's literally what they're going to probably mention.
that's actually a good point. Actually, they probably will mention that more than likely, and just say, "Oh, just take the damage."
Yeah, because I see a lot of people also mention that bubble tier works for Pray to Rykard for the lava in the
Yeah.
arena.
Because I mean, what else are they going to say about Moog? I mean, they're going to say, "Oh, you got to use the crystals tier to reduce the amount of damage." So yeah, you're actually right. And when it comes to Elden Stars, they more than 90% sure they will mention the crystal tier.
I think it's the most viable way to do it, but you only get one chance at it, obviously,
Yeah,
because it is physic flask. But I definitely feel like that will be kind of the crutch, if anything,
yeah.
that will be use this tier as a last resort.
Well, pretty much look at the Elden Stars attack. Once it happens and it's over with, you pretty much rush to kill the boss because it can happen again, and you might not be prepared for it the second time.
Yeah, you want to try and keep the aggression moving so where the boss actually moves.
Hmm.
You know, you want to be able to at least give yourself a bit of distance to heal.
Before I get into the Elden Stars, did you want to go over your favorite bosses in the series, or was it Elden? I'm sorry, was it Elden Ring bosses
It,
that we wanted to go over, or everything?
it was Elden Ring, but like I definitely have a couple from the whole series. I mean,
Well, let's just stick with Elden Ring for right now.
yeah. Do you want it in 1 to 5 or 5 to 1?
I go 1 to 5. People
One
seem
to
to really
five.
like that a lot more. Oh wait,
Okay,
hold on. I'm
well,
sorry. Are you counting is one being your best and five being the your kind of
one,
the lesser one?
yeah, 1 being the best, 5 being kind of it just made the list.
Okay, sorry. Then do 5 to 1.
Okay, so on my entire list, I actually have great enemies besides number 5, which is the putrid Crystallian fight. You know, the triple fight that you find.
Future.
Uh, have you haven't
Okay.
met that fight yet?
The three Crystallians.
Yeah, where you have the shield bearer, the spear, and the sorcerer all together, but
Wow.
they have
Yeah.
Scarlet
I have not
Rot as
fought them
well.
yet.
Oh, fantastic fight! I love it.
Really?
I
So it
like the
works pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, well, think of the double fight that we see. You
Mm-hmm.
see that quite a lot in the dungeons. So you've got the sorcerer added on in the triple fight, but they also have Scarlet Rot when they hit you. So it's very much about kind of positioning again, because obviously if you go for an attack and you miss, then you've got the unfortunate possibility of the other two colliding. Um, but I thought it was really interesting to see a triple fight, and I think it's done very, very well for what it is.
Wow. Okay. I've actually
Um,
I haven't heard praise for that boss fight.
I like it. I think it was a cool feature too to have to break the armor. I think that's a really
Oh
cool
yes,
idea.
I love that. I
Yeah, and
I,
that's what made it number 5. It was just the fact it's a triple fight and you have to break the armor, so it takes a lot of positioning. That's kind of the main reasons for me.
I would love to see like if in the DLC, I would love to see like a Crystallian Lord.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Oh man, can you
That'd
imagine
be
like
so cool.
like kind of like a
Yeah.
Notorious style boss fight? Oh
Do you know?
man.
I feel like they could do that too because there's certain areas of the lands between where they're just randomly out in the open, like
Hmm.
down pathways. So I feel like they should be able to do that idea, make a lord,
Yeah.
100%. Um,
I mean, there's
but
so
yeah,
many possibilities.
yeah, there really is actually. Elden Ring is very good for that. I think there's
Hmm.
a lot of enemies that they could do so much with.
Oh yes.
Um, but that would be definitely number five. So one of the only mini bosses that I actually like in the game that I think is quite fun.
Very nice.
Um,
Yeah.
Then number four, I've got Star Scourge Radon,
Okay.
or the Homer Simpson clown bike,
Have
as
you
I'm going
seen?
to
Have you
refer
looked
to
at
him.
that clip yet to make comparisons?
Yeah, it's so funny. Like I had to go watch it again. It's so good. It's just so to the point, you know. I've never heard anybody refer to General Radon as that, but that is definitely going to be on my streams. He's going to be Homer,
There,
100%.
there you go. I'm surprised no one's turned that into a model mod yet. 'Cause, I mean, they've done
That'd be
character
so cool
mods
to.
of Elden Ring, but I would love to see someone turn Radon into Homer on a bicycle.
I don't even think I would want to do the fight. I just want to watch the character movement.
Can you imagine how funny that would look?
It'd be fantastic. That would be so good. Um, yeah, no, I like Radon. I think because I mentioned earlier about the arena, I think they did a very good job considering
Hmm.
it was their first real open arena. And
Okay.
obviously, I guess that's down to Torrent being in the game, to get the players to go, okay, well, Torrent's a viable option because I feel like that fight, like we were saying about the whole on foot issue with the attack that we haven't really tested. But
So,
what really makes that fight is the summons for me.
okay.
Yeah, it feels like an assault,
Uh
more
huh.
like kind of a unit attack instead of just one summon. And I'm not really a summon guy,
Right.
but I think Radon's fight just in the desert, you're running uphill, you're in this big battle. I just think it's so cool with the cinematics.
So,
I think it's just amazing.
so you appreciate the presentation more than the actual fight?
I like the fight. I think it's got some good mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of the fight's a bit of a letdown, like the media attack, because you can completely bypass that depending on the damage output.
Yeah.
But I think as a spectacle goes, I think the story, the lore behind it of how Radon gets to where he is really interesting with the Scarlet Rot. I think the overall cutscenes for when the stars return is well done.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's one of the few cutscenes I don't skip, and I've seen it many times.
Yeah.
So I think if it wasn't for realistically the spectacle aspect, I probably wouldn't like Radon. And it reminds me of Ganondorf, which is pretty cool.
Now, you
You know,
mentioned it was the first boss to have an open field like that. You don't consider the Slave Knight Gale fight like that?
I actually forgot about that fight.
Yeah, because that's pretty open.
That is very open. Yeah, that's
That's the
true.
first thing it reminded me of when I fought Radon. I was like, man, this feels like Slave Knight Gale again.
Yeah, I forgot about that, and it's because I haven't really done that fight many times. It's not like Dark Souls 3 isn't one that I would kind of get very bored of, I
Hmm.
guess, compared to the others. So no, that's actually a good point. I didn't think of the Gale fight. Oh
And
no, that's making me rethink a lot of things.
his presentation is also really good. I don't really care for the
Yes.
fight. Maybe I need to fight him now since I haven't fought him in probably like 5 years. Um, so I need to revisit him before I can really say that. But I remember when he first came out, I didn't really care for the fight, but I love Dark Eater Mitter so much more.
I'm a Sister Frida person when it
Oh,
comes to
she's
the DLCs.
oh
I
yeah,
love that fight. I
she's
love
also
that final fight.
spectacular. She
And
should
I
have
did
been
that fight without damage.
she
And
should have been the
that was a
final
power fight.
boss of Dark
Oh,
Souls 3.
100%. 100%. Yeah, she is the queen
Mm-hmm.
of the souls. Yeah, I'm a Sister Frida person when it comes to Dark Souls 3.
So, Radon, what did you think about how I approached Radon just by waiting out one attack?
I thought it was pretty smart, to be quite honest.
Because I could.
Because
I'm sorry.
oh, I was gonna say I thought it was quite smart because the way Radahn can be quite an aggressive fight with the whole gravity issue.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
no.
I saw
And
no rolling videos, and the person just pretty much stays right behind him, poking him with with the katana. And I'm like, well, I don't want to use a katana, so I got to find something else. And obviously, anything slower is not going to really be as viable with that strategy. And so I pretty much had to sit there, studying the fight until I found some kind of weakness. And then finally, I noticed that attack had a nice telegraph and also had a lot of free space while he was performing the combos. I'm like, okay, well, I found something to work with. I wonder how long he's going to be doing this attack through the entire fight. And he actually does it, fairly generously throughout. I just had to, of course, I had to plan out when he was going to do the gravity in the middle. And that's
yeah,
basically
that's my
just
biggest
how
slip
I,
up.
built my strategy around Radon was just that one attack alone.
Yeah, no, that's actually a fair point,
Hmm.
because the gravity attack is realistically the one attack that you've always got to keep in consideration.
And that's actually a really big problem I've seen in Elden Ring, where some bosses have that one attack that you gotta keep your mind in, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially when it's telegraphed well. But some of these attacks are not telegraphed very well, and fight attacks need to be satisfying to read and evade from, instead of it just happening and you feeling lucky that you got out of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I noticed you said that in a couple of your boss reviews.
Hmm.
I really thought it was a valid point because I hate that in a boss fight where you've got to constantly be thinking like more of the future attacks because there's always that, like you were saying, one attack that
Hmm.
is kind of the problem. Especially if you're doing a challenge run, like a no-hit run, you're already trying to think of what's going to be coming at that split second. So,
Sorry, my cat knocked over the baby monitor.
oh, don't you just love cats? They think they are God.
This one loves biting my feet when I'm fighting a boss. He's like adding an extra challenge for me.
Real wow, do you know it's when you say that, my cat when I was doing that soul level 1 challenge run, my cat hopped up and sat right in the middle of my screen when I was on the Chandra.
Mm-hmm.
It just added a whole new layer of suspense, to be quite honest.
He also, when I was in a boss fight, he rubbed up against my controller right when I needed to avoid an attack and screwed me up and killed me. I was like, thanks.
Do you remember back in the day with like the old Xboxes and the PlayStations where it was the touch sensitive and animals could turn them off? I had that happen so many times where like one of our dog's noses or the cat's nose would touch the button and it would turn off mid like fight or mid save.
That never happened to me because my family didn't really like animals in the house. I'm not really.
Ah, okay.
So now that I'm living with my wife, she loves having animals in the house, and so this is the first time I've ever had to deal with animals while playing video games.
Well, cats think they are the Artorias of the real world.
Hmm.
So, I mean, they're great fun.
Yeah, he's my little gamer kitty. He used to get on my desk and sleep on the little padding I had on there. He's gotten too big now, but yeah, he'll still get on my lap. But right now, my newborn, he'll lay on my lap and watch me fight bosses.
Well, you're getting them started early. That's a great way to
Oh
do it.
yeah, I'm like, yeah,
Get them
watch what
started.
I'm doing, son, because
Yeah.
you're gonna be playing this one day, so you need to remember these tactics I'm using for Radagon.
Yeah, especially for that fight, it's super important because delay in them attacks. It's there. The delay's there. Um,
So, what's your number three?
that's cool. Lich Dragon Fortis Axe.
Ah,
And you haven't done this fight, have
nope.
you? Just yet. It's a fantastic fight. It's probably my favorite dragon fight in the whole game.
Hmm.
And like I think Placidus Axe is a pretty cool fight because we were chatting about that a couple of days ago. Because I remember how it came up, but we were chatting, weren't we, about certain bosses, and I was saying about how Placidus Axe was the final one I needed for the achievement. But Fortis Axe, it's just it's a spectacle, to be quite honest. So, have you been to the deep root depths in Elden Ring where you see fear? Have you been to that area?
Um, where's that located?
So you have to take the teleport from Oh, is it Mowen's Dynasty? There's a teleport. I can't remember the exact location, but that's how you access it. You take one of the portals, and it drops you out by under the Erd tree.
Maybe I haven't. That doesn't sound familiar.
It's yeah. Let me just check the wiki. I have it here somewhere. But when you get into it, you actually get to see Godwin, which is awesome because we
Okay.
don't
I don't think I've seen
you
that
only really
then.
get to see him in the cutscene. So it was cool to see. Obviously, he's a big giant fish. Well,
Oh
that's
man.
what I think he looks like.
Dang it, stop giving me a reason to go back to Eldering. I'm supposed to take a break.
No, I'm telling you, man, you got to go see it. It's cool because you see all the death blight, and the whole arena is for Fortisax is covered in death blight, and Fortisax himself is actually corrupted
Oh, sorry.
while trying to defend Godwin from the corruption of death blight after he's been killed. It's a really interesting lore behind it, which kind of makes it a fun fight for me. But he's one of the few dragon fights that uses the ancient lightning, the dragon lightning spells,
Mm-hmm.
but does it correctly, in my opinion. Like the way he spams with lightning spear and death lightning, I think it's just great. It's amazing animations. It's very well telegraphed. It's very rewarding if you can dodge them, mid attack, if you can time the roll. So I think it's just overall as a fight goes, dragon fight is probably the best one. You don't get constantly stone locked by flames. Well, I never have.
Okay.
But no, you've definitely got to go check it out because it's part of the Fear quest line to get Fear's ending in the game. You have to get the ruin of death, and put it back together. So you've got to do some of Rani's quest line as well. But no, it's a cool fight, and you get to see Godwin in the dream world, and it's just it's amazing. It's just
Wow.
spectacular.
Would you consider it
Yeah.
the best dragon boss in the From Software games?
Um, for me, probably yeah. I think it's just because of the color scheme, the fact his scales are dark black, but you can actually see his flesh under the scales because they're golden. And then you have the thorns from the death blade. It's just a really cool picture. And then I think just it has that whole risk reward feature, but the reward is definitely better. Like you feel like, okay, well, if I jump through this attack, it might kill me, but there's a chance I can deal some serious damage, if you time it correctly. So
Okay.
I think for me, it's one of the best ones that's been done.
All right. I definitely need to check it out. I don't have much input on it because I have not fought him. What's the fight in the Crumbling Azula where you just kind of warp to it? You can't really. I guess you can't get to it organically. You gotta just warp
Yeah,
it.
the Placidusax fight.
Yeah. What's the difference?
Placidusax is on steroids.
Really?
Well, he has the same kind of ancient dragon lightning attack because that's across all the ancient dragons. Where you see, especially when you're running down through Forum Azura,
Mm-hmm.
where you find the ancient dragon smithing stone and the ancient somber smithing stone, where you get those two. That attack, Placidusax does it, but it's kind of poorly done because you can dodge it by just walking past it. Like the wind up time's something like 7 seconds. So, it's not very well done. But Placidusax tends to. Because I said he's on steroids, because he goes invisible.
Oh,
You've
okay.
got to deal with invisibility, and when he spawns back in, he does a lightning claw attack that you can dodge. If you have a little bit of a delay, but if you don't do it correctly, he can actually hit you on the pullback from it. So I guess
Is it a better
that's kind
fight?
of. It's a better arena, I
Okay.
think, in terms of it's quite cool because it's frozen in time. It's a very cool. You're in the tornado,
Uh huh.
which is pretty cool. I think what makes Placidusax's fight probably a little bit better is the laser beam attack from his two heads, because the two heads actually work together for the
Oh,
second phase, and that's pretty cool.
okay.
But I think aesthetically and kind of story wise, Fortisax is better. In terms of kind of fitting in the game.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's kind of like a stele, where the the quest line version is better than the one in the mountaintops.
Yeah, I feel like Placidus Sax is just kind of it's a cool idea because he's the first Lord, Elden Lord of the ancient times, but like you're saying, you have to warp to him, and it just
Mm-hmm.
kind of feels like you miss him. Like I have 450 hours in the game, and I didn't do him until last week, and I've done many playthroughs, and I completely forget he's there
Wow.
because of the whole drop down to get to the warp section is hidden,
Mm-hmm.
like on cliffs. You've got to kind of look down, and there's a teeny little lip that you land on. So. Yeah, I feel like Placidus Sax was just kind of
Oh,
they didn't know what to do with them.
hold on a second. All right, sorry about that. We gotta wrap it up here in a little bit. If you want to go ahead and
Yeah, no problem. Godric the Grafted is number two
nice.
because Godric is I think actually Godric was my least favorite fight when the game first came out,
Really?
and no, I absolutely love the fight. I think he's such a cool character. The whole grafting idea, he's got a really cool character design. I think the arena is amazing. I'm a big fan of Stormvale. I think it's probably one of my favorite level designs.
Oh yes.
Um, and the tombstones remind me of the Father Gascon fight
Mm-hmm.
a lot, which is pretty cool.
I,
And then
oh, sorry.
the flowers, it just I don't know, it reminds me of Bloodborne a lot. That arena, just the way the whole floral fauna kind of thing going on.
Okay.
Very interesting. So I do feel like Phase Two is a bit of a letdown though in that fight, personally,
It.
because you can just run under his first dragon attack and get
Yeah.
loads of damage in.
He does get very generous in the second phase.
Yeah, I do think it's a good fight in terms of the speed. There's no stagnant idleness like some bosses because of his, uh, isn't it Stormcaller? That's the attack, isn't it? Where he does like the hurricane spin. Stormcaller.
Is it
Uh,
okay? I thought it was the storm whirlwind or something.
yeah, it's either Stormcaller or Storm Whirlwind. It's one of them. I know there's an Ash of War that's called Stormcaller, and it's the same kind of idea. So maybe I'm
Okay,
getting
maybe
it
it is storm call because
confused.
usually the Ash of War is the same name as the boss attack.
Yeah, but if it wasn't for that attack, I think that fight would be pretty slow because it allows Godric to move at quite a rapid pace.
Well, all right. So what's your number one?
Morgoth the Omen King.
Oh,
He gets number one for me all the time.
really?
I I love that fight. I
I
think it's so cool.
I find that surprising considering that you don't like the dancer attack, which is he has a combo of a little that's a little bit similar.
Do you know if it wasn't for the fact that the second phase of the fight with the like I guess it's acid or pus. I don't really know what to call it when it comes up the ground.
I
That
guess
to
it's
me,
filth.
yeah. Well, that yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what we'll call it. That for me is what makes the fight amazing. I think it's just so well done how the second half of that fight becomes so aggressive.
Hmm.
And I think compared to the first encounter with him, as obviously the first main proper boss, I definitely feel like they got rid of a lot of the delays in the attacks. You know, it definitely felt more. You get more reward for your risk in the second phase, I think.
Yeah, the same. I wish the whole fight was the second phase.
Yeah, the first phase, it's the same as when you first encounter him.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for that second phase change being so dramatic, I probably wouldn't like the fight as much. And I think the intro cutscene's amazing when he
Mm-hmm.
talks about the thrones. I think that's so cool,
Oh yes.
considering he was banished away, yet he still defends the Great Will. I think it's a really cool concept. So,
Hoping maybe
yeah.
in the DLC if it's if it's taken before the events of Elden Ring, we get to see everybody sitting in those chairs.
Oh, that'd be so cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Get to see it, like the whole. It's like that scene out of Lord of the Rings where they're talking about the Fellowship. It'd be so cool to see them all on thrones.
Oh yeah. See Radon in his original size.
Yeah, I don't think he would look the same. I think it would be a bit weird
Yeah, that would be really strange.
seeing him tiny. That's not into that. But yeah, they're my Elden Ring bosses. I feel like Fortisax is a bit of a weird one because a lot of people skip him.
That would be crazy if Radon was actually a dwarf.
And he's using gravity to
Yeah.
float. That'd be yeah. That'd be kind of cool actually. There's got to be a mod that does that. Has to be.
Well, sorry, I gotta kind of rush the end here. Yeah, I definitely I wanted to get it to 2 hours, but we made it a good length.
Yeah, and I'm always up for doing another one if you ever
My wife's
feel
like,
like
just
I.
keep going. I'm like, oh no, well, got the baby here, and I don't want him to start getting upset.
No, I get it. No, that makes sense.
But we'll definitely have to continue another time. We got plenty of time to do other podcasts, and oh well, shoot, that was the second time I missed out on the Elden Stars conversation, but I don't mind saving it for another time.
No, because there'll be a better conversation because there'll be like 22 more patches
There you
before.
go. No, it won't take that long for our
No.
next podcast. I mean, I don't know if it'll be with you or another person, but I definitely got to bring up the Elden Stars poll results on on some podcast. Hopefully, it'll
Yeah,
be
that'll be
next
super
time
interesting.
on the next podcast at least. But um, thank you for coming on. We could definitely talk for hours. I feel like I can do that with every single one of my guests. I could just talk to them for
Great, isn't it?
hours upon hours, just talking about gaming stuff. And our conversation was definitely more focused on Elden Ring, which is just fine. I mean, I can talk about Elden Ring for you know days and months.
Yeah, I think that game has just so much potential. So,
All right, well
no,
that's
it was super fun. Super fun being on.
all right, Aldimo. Well,
So,
appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk further on later.
yeah, no problem. I really enjoyed being on here. Thanks for having me.
All right, I'm just gonna stop recording, and we can just wrap up.
Yeah, no problem.